Hey everybody, this is So Many Sequels, your book club for movies. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
Welcome to the show. Another new week here of So Many Sequels. We're still in Sports September. We've got a brand new sports review coming up later this week. We're going to talk about Cool Runnings. Very excited about that. We've so far talked about A League of Their Own and White Men Can't Jump. So coming up next, like I said, Cool Runnings, and then we've got the fan pick that's going to be our closer for the month. That should be announced very soon. Over the weekend, we put out the first round of voting. We had categories for football, baseball, golf, and then like a bonus category of some other sports. So it's probably not up anymore as of recording this. So either we've announced it or we're very close to announcing it. What the ultimate vote winner was. So excited about that coming up. But we've got plenty of other stuff to talk about this week. We've been watching old movies, new movies, uh, talking about making up new movies, some fun stuff we've been doing on social media. So let's get started with catching up on what we have been watching this week. David, you went back in time for both
Mhm.
movies you watched this week. Tell us about your journey with Hercules and Daredevil.
Well, it started with a trip to the 90s. We've been watching a lot of 90s movies because of Sports September. And so I just kind of got stuck into this place of watching some movies from my childhood years or my first 10 years. And Hercules is one that I'd seen obviously a billion times before, and Jack really likes it now. He calls it the Hydra movie. That's his favorite part of the movie, is where Hercules fights the Hydra. And he loves to pretend like it's the first time he's watched it each time, because he asks the same questions. Dad, what's going to happen? Oh my gosh, Dad, what is that called? I'm like, you know what it's called. You asked for the movie where he fights the Hydra. Anyway, it's just a fun movie. It's is it faithful to Greek mythology? No, but it's way more fun than it has any right to be. Still, blast of a movie. And then I've told you in the past about Nikki's Picks. These are movies my wife has seen and loves, and she makes me watch. Well, this time we had a kind of an inversion of that, because she's been rewatching Daredevil on Netflix and getting really into it. And then she noticed that on Disney Plus, 2003's Daredevil with Ben Affleck is available. And she said in passing, I've never seen 2003's Daredevil with Ben
Whoa.
Affleck and Jennifer Garner. She goes, I'm kind of thinking about watching it. And I was like, hey,
Just a thought.
I said, go for it, but I'm going to warn you, you might not like it at all. And I said, it's very 2000s. It is very early 2000s.
It
And
is like a time capsule.
so we sat down, and she actually watched about the first 30 minutes without me while I was going to get dinner with Jack, and we came back, and she was like, I don't know how I'm feeling about this. And I was like, oh man, it has so much more to go. You haven't even gotten to Colin Farrell showing up. And so we watched. The movie has, I would say, not aged well. Um I remember being 13 and sitting in the theater like all excited, because in the previous years we had Spider-Man and X-Men come out, and X-Men 2 was months away, and there was going to be a Hulk movie later that year. Like, it was such a cool time to be a 13-year-old boy who wanted nothing more than to watch superhero movies. And even at the time, I remember being like, this isn't as good as Spider-Man or X-Men, but still kind of liking it a little bit. To quote my wife after the credits started rolling, that was kind of terrible. It's not aged well, and it's very of its time, but even in its time, it was pretty mediocre. Um, my wife did laugh very hard at the musical choices, because they were so on the nose. Like, they introduced Kingpin, and the song's like, "Hey, yo, I'm a gangster," da da da, and then they introduce Colin Farrell, and it's like, I'm Irish, but I'm not a leprechaun. I think it was House of Pain playing. I'm not really sure, but and then later, when obviously Jennifer Garner does her fight choreography to Evanescence's what's the name of that song? "Wake Me Up Inside." What's that song called? Do you guys know?
I know what you're talking about, but could not tell you the name if you paid me.
Anyway, there's a part where they cut to Ben Affleck, who's playing Matt Murdock, and he's blind. He goes, "There was a time when I couldn't see," or something like that. And she was just like, "You got to be kidding me with this." So anyway, very fun for me to go back and watch it with her. She immediately turned Daredevil from Netflix back on. It was like, I need to get back to the good part.
Yeah, I
So
have no desire to go back to that one. That's one I'm not curious about at all.
No,
so
there are
Um,
much
better
leather,
versions.
so much leather. The Matrix had way too strong of an impact on that movie and on movies in general in the early 2000s, because like the reason that the X-Men wore all that leather in the first X-Men movie was because the Matrix was so popular. And so obviously the reason Daredevil wore so much leather is because the X-Men wore so much leather. So it's just too much leather in that movie. It's like everybody should be going every time they walk around.
Dang. I don't know. I don't know. I can't do it. I would watch Hercules again though. That's a good one.
Oh, Hercules a blast.
Garrett, you have a variety here. Where do you want to start?
I think I want to start with the Friday the 13th-a-thon because
Ooh,
that's where those spooky
yes.
ones come from. Because I think Friday the 13th, you have a wide range that you can go for a spooky kind of movie that you want to watch. I lean obvious. You can go slasher with the original or the remakes of the Friday the 13th. Nothing wrong with that. Felt a little too on the nose for me, and I was feeling a little silly, so I went down the rabbit hole of a couple of silly, spooky horror movies with Cabin in the Woods and Army of Darkness. Army of Darkness for me is always just a silly classic. I mean, it is incredibly campy and it knows what it is, leans into it. Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, they always work magic together whenever they are on screen, off screen partners. So I
Hmm.
really love this movie so much. It's just a really enjoyable one to watch. And The Cabin in the Woods is one that I really enjoyed when I saw it as a teenager, and I was a little surprised that it didn't really hold up as well. I think that the sarcasm and the thickness that you get with the Joss Whedon of that time frame, it just I don't know, it didn't hit me in the same way that it did. I still like the idea of the cabin in the woods with all of these options that it are happening in this haunted house with all of these pretty people who are stereotypical of tropes of horror movies, and then they pick a thing, and that becomes the thing that haunts them. And I like that idea. So I think that there's more to explore there. It just didn't have that same kind of humor, so it slowed me down some. But what about you guys?
Mm.
Do you feel like there's any kind of genre you like to go to on a Friday the 13th? Because I think that's an underrated holiday to celebrate a horror movie with.
It is. I like it a lot, because Friday the 13th always surprises me. It's something I always realize has come up a few days before, Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm like, "Oh, it's Friday the 13th." So it's a
Somebody give me
surprise.
a ladder.
So every time it
Mhm.
happens, it's a nice surprise. So I enjoy it, and I try to always incorporate some kind of theme, too. Usually a horror movie of sorts. Um, I tend to not go to Friday the 13th, the franchise, but I ended up going. I wasn't going to talk about it, so I won't go into detail. But I watched Fright Night, the original, for my
Nice,
Friday the 13th choice.
nice.
I had never seen it. I can see why it's a cult movie, but I don't know that I'm in that cult. That's how I approached it. What about what's your answer to that, David? You got a Friday the 13th vibe?
I, you know, I feel great shame. I don't really have one. I
Mm.
feel like maybe I would do like a Freaky Friday or something.
Yeah, that could
That's
be
a
a
good
fun
You
one.
one.
know, I know that's not technically on the 13th, but maybe I would watch Friday
I think it fits.
with Ice Cube.
If you want a
You
horror
know,
movie, David, I would suggest Freaky with, and I
yeah,
rarely suggest a Vince Vaughn movie, but Vince Vaughn, and I
Same.
cannot remember her name, but she is in so many Scream Queen movies, and she is fantastic. So I would recommend that. It's got the Freaky Friday aspect, but murder.
right. Like she switches places with like a serial killer, doesn't she?
Yes, it's quite good.
Yeah.
It's quite good.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty
What was
fun.
her name? It was
Ca
she the same
Is it Catherine Newton in that movie?
Catherine Newton,
Yes, it
right?
is
Yeah,
Catherine
she
Newton.
was
You know, if
yeah.
she's in it, it's going to be campy a little bit and
Yeah,
good. So
she's a good
yes,
actress. I enjoy
And
yes.
it.
it's the same director who did the Happy Death Days, isn't it?
To remember.
Possibly, don't know.
But the other one that I ended up watching as we continued our sports theme for me, The Waterboy
Yeah.
popped up. And man, I gotta tell
Mhm.
you what, I expected that movie to really hold up poorly as far
Yeah.
as, like, offensiveness. It was
Mhm.
not. It was not
Mhm.
near as offensive as I expected it to be. Sometimes those Adam Sandler ones, those, you question it. It
Yeah.
was not as bad, and they did a good job of telling the sports aspect while we're looking at it. Like, those sports scenes are shot really well. And
Mhm.
Adam Sandler's really good in sports movies. He's got a track record of them, and they're all pretty solid. And I would agree that this one still held up as a really solid watch. Very funny. It was good.
I agree. The Waterboy, don't look into it. Terrible reviews from its day. Terrible scores across almost all of our critic review sites, even Letterboxd, and it just makes me feel bad. I'm like, what happened to you people?
Yeah.
Why can't we just? I thought we all collectively agreed that the Waterboy is dumb but hilarious, like most Adam Sandler movies.
Yes.
But no, whatever. No, it's still hilarious. You posted the thing about the kid of yours, one of your someone was getting their lawnmower souped up, right?
Yep. Yep.
And you were like, I gotta watch the Waterboy now.
Yep. That's basically what happened. That's how it started, and it was a good choice.
I love at the end of the movie where Bobby's dad shows up and he goes, "We could be like that Tiger Woods and his daddy." That cracks me up every
Yeah.
time.
It was a good one.
Roberto.
I don't remember when I last saw The Waterboy. It's been a minute for me.
Oh
But,
man,
Henry
my
Winkler is
favorite.
great. He's
yeah,
so
yeah.
funny.
And it's so endlessly quotable, especially when you. So I played football, and one time someone fell asleep during a film session, and our starting quarterback, after the lights came back on, he hit his feet and slapped down. He goes, "You better wake your ass up. We got to win tomorrow."
Oh my god.
Cracked me up.
I love when
That's
kids just
awesome.
say things that they
Yep.
hear.
Oh
I was
man.
out in public the other day, and these kids were like kids, like 6, 7 years old, probably running around, and I heard this little boy go, "What is wrong with our generation?" And I was like, "Where did you hear that, you little
They're
You're
weirdo?"
not supposed to
complaining, old
say that till
man.
you're
Their old
19.
man's complaining all the
I know,
time. Or they spent time with grandpa over the summer and he just didn't
right?
understand what was going on, grandpa.
Exactly,
What is
exactly.
wrong with our generation?
I managed to fit in a new movie this week that I'm pretty excited to share with y'all. Have you heard of My Old Ass yet?
I think I did hear. I read about this somewhere. Maybe it was
Yeah.
in the box office report somewhere. I saw this title.
Um, I went to see My Old Ass at AMC the other day, starring Aubrey Plaza and Maisie Stella is her name. Let me actually look up the letterbox synopsis and read it to you because it's a coming of age story, but it's got an interesting kind of funny twist to it. As an 18th birthday an 18th birthday mushroom trip brings free-spirited Elliot face to face with her wisecracking 39-year-old self. But when Elliot's old ass starts handing out warnings about what her younger self should and should not do, Elliot realizes she has to rethink everything about family, love, and what's becoming a transformative summer. So this is a movie about a 18-year-old girl. She just turned 18. She's about to leave for college, and she goes on a mushroom trip with her friends, and they all have their own interesting weird trips. And her trip is just that her future self appears, and it's Aubrey Plaza, and they both just kind of like it's funny because even the older self doesn't understand why she's there, so they both are kind of like figuring it out together, but also taking advantage of the fact that um, older self could change some things through her younger self. So it's pretty fun. It's very touching at times. It's very funny. Uh, and I think that I would recommend it to both of you. More so to Garrett.
Sounds very interesting. I always love when Aubrey Plaza shows up. First of all,
Yeah.
that is always a selling point. And a good
Yeah.
little, what mushroom trip isn't.
Yeah.
It's always welcome. So, yeah, that sounds interesting.
It's very funny.
When you
Oh, I'm
first said
actually seeing
mushroom
it
trip,
right
I
here
thought
on
they were
Letterboxd.
going to look for morels.
Oh, different type.
Uh,
Yeah.
I
Different
don't feel
type.
like I don't feel like these two actresses really look that much alike, though.
I
Now
you
that
know
I'm
what?
looking
I
at
knew
it,
you would go down that rabbit hole. I don't
Who
care about
I'm
Barry
sorry.
cares?
Lyndon anymore.
I'm
Moving
I
on.
I care. I care a little bit. I mean, I was just looking at him here.
Suspend your disbelief, boy.
Is
People
there a
age
twist? Is she
differently.
not actually her from the future?
No, she is her from the future. There's actually a scene about where younger self argues that she doesn't look like herself.
Oh, they get meta with it. All
They
right.
get meta with it, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But they
All
prove
right.
that it is her. So, it's
Coming to Hulu. I'm
potentially
making that up.
potentially, I don't know where it's coming, but it's a smaller movie, so but check it out. This is one of those movies where I'm gonna hear people go, "There's no good movies out. I haven't been to the movies since 2019." And I go,
Mhm.
"You don't try. You don't
There are
try."
more original movies in theaters every year than there are adaptations, but
Yeah.
most people don't believe that.
But that's it for me this week. Let's, switch gears here into really the big news of the week was we lost a legend in James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader,
Mhm.
potentially his most iconic, or if not, certainly
Mhm.
one of his most iconic voice
Mhm.
roles. This guy was for us,
Yeah.
the voice of a generation. I mean, like I said, Darth Vader, voice of Mufasa.
Mhm.
Um, he was the scary neighbor man in The Sandlot who had the big scary dog, who
Yeah.
turns out to not be so scary.
You're
He
in
was a
deep trouble,
scary
aren't
neighbor
you?
man in Field of Dreams, kind of.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Reactions, James Earl Jones. He's been around forever. He was
Mhm.
93.
That surprises me. I think that's my biggest surprise is I knew that he was old, but he himself somehow has felt timeless. And I think that is because he has been such a generational voice. I mean, Star Wars came out in the 70s through the 80s. uh Lion King lives on forever. I mean, all of these things just live on and they are timeless and so connected to James Earl Jones. And you hear the voice and you just automatically know it's unmistakable the impact that he has made on Hollywood just by his voice. And then
Mhm.
you look at what he has acted in. You go back to Field of Dreams is the one that I remember him most growing up as, because that was the one where I saw him the most.
Mhm.
You don't see him
Mhm.
too often. You just know him, and I think
Mhm.
that I mean, obviously, it's a big loss. I just honestly was surprised that he was 93.
I think a big part of that is that he did have a bit of a timeless feel. You know, we grew up in the heyday of home video, right? Where for the first time, you know, late 80s into the 90s, home video became much more of an actual option with VHS tape. You know, before that you had some home video options, but it wasn't as common as it became. So we could rewatch Star Wars over and over and over, and he was forever Darth Vader. We could watch The Lion King or The Sandlot or Coming to America or Field of Dreams or gosh, what else? You know, the Hunt for Red October. We could watch all those movies over and over and over again, and so like it felt like he was forever like frozen at like I don't know his mid 60s or however old he was in in the early 1990s. And yeah, I it is a shame. I know that he had mostly retired as of a few years ago, so we hadn't seen a lot, but he had a legendary career in terms of film. I mean, he's in films like Doctor Strangelove. He's in films like Clear and Present Danger. You know, he was in the original Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone, and then also a legendary career on stage as well. You know, he was a guy, one of those guys who could go from theater. He was like, I think he originated the role in the movie Fences that Denzel Washington did a Fences movie a few years back, and James Earl Jones was the original version of Denzel's character in that. So yeah, I don't know, and just like iconic voice. He was Morgan Freeman before Morgan Freeman, and yeah, I don't know. He will be missed, but man, what a legacy to leave behind. And 93 is a great. I mean, if anybody deserved to make it to 93, James Earl Jones.
Yeah, it looks like if his Wikipedia entry is to be believed, that 2021's Coming to America is his final film role.
Mm,
Um, and, he had made some deal with Lucasfilm recently, I remember reading, where they use some of his archival voice for Darth Vader stuff, so they will probably
mhm.
continue to do that, I would assume, since they were doing that while he was alive.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So, yeah, well, alright, so fun conversation that I thought we could have today. I thought of this and threw it out on to Threads, which you can follow us there at So Many Sequels Pod. Um, and it was this idea of, what franchise would you reboot but in a completely different genre. We have all these reboots all the time, but it's not often that you see it, like, totally shake things up and be a different type of, story, I guess.
Right.
So, David, I know you came up with some. I wanted to share
I did.
just a couple of the ones, that our followers came up with, so we can kinda talk about those and what those might look like. Um, this first one I think is really funny. It's just the idea of Die Hard as a musical, okay?
Mhm.
We already talked about Die Hard as a Christmas movie. Can it also be a musical? And bonus question, would it contain Christmas music? Would it be a Christmas musical?
Not only could it be a musical, it would, potentially save the musical genre. I don't know. It's, it kinda I would really want it to be like a rock musical or something like
Yeah,
that.
well,
That
I
would be
can
a lot of
see it
fun.
because I can see a big party number when they're gathered at the Christmas party toward the beginning. I can
Mm,
see, Alan Rickman having his villainous, solo song that he's singing in the to the empty elevator shafts, and
mhm.
then, you got Bruce Willis, can have all his hero moments, so I can see that.
Yeah, and then they did
Um,
a version of this on Bob's Burgers, I believe. They did like a
you're making that up.
Die No, I think the Bob's Burgers has like a Die Hard the Musical episode thing that they did.
We're gonna have to look
Could be
into
wrong.
that because that'd be hilarious. Um, Godfather, but as a rom-com.
Now this one has me confused.
Does it?
Yeah, because I mean, I think it
It's
obviously
set on
hilarious.
this the day of my daughter's wedding.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's true. So I mean, do we shift the focus of the of of the movie to the daughter and her fiance?
Yes, it's a
What
reboot.
does that
You
meet
do
cute
whatever
look
you
like?
want.
I think you go in reverse where you start with their meet cute and they
Right.
figure out, oh, my family's in the mafia. Oh, my family's in the such and such. And they have to figure
Yeah.
out how to make it work. And in the
Yes.
Yeah.
background, he's going to make them an offer you can't refuse,
See, now I'm picturing The Godfather, but I'm putting it in like the Fockers universe. I'm it's a Meet the Parents style rom com.
Oh, where they gotta go and meet the Godfather.
Father, yes, and it's not lost on me that they referenced The Godfather in the Fockers
Well,
movies where he was
sure.
the Godfucker. I almost
The
forgot about
the
that.
Godfucker. Yes. Alright, see, I think that's a hit already. Alright, now what about a okay, Star Wars, but it's specifically a suspense/horror story with
Mm.
Ewoks. That's
I
from
think
Second Fly on Threads.
I think this might be a bit of a stretch. However, we've seen weirder.
See,
Gremlins
I'm
made it work.
imagining teenagers on a hiking/camping trip,
Hmm.
and the Ewoks are hunting them
Hmm.
in the
Mm.
Hmm.
woods, like they're rabid animals type things.
I think it has Megan capabilities. I think it
Ooh,
has Five
Mithrigan.
Nights at Freddy's. You take some of these different elements and you try to see if you can make it work.
I know. I think it could happen. What'd you come up with, David? You got a few?
Oh, well, I mentioned on Threads, I said, you look at maybe like Jurassic Park, but you do it as like a horror movie. You get some like
Yep.
hot adult teens who have gotten lost on the island and are getting hunted by dinosaurs. Pretty standard stuff. You contributed, I believe, zombie
Mhm.
dinosaurs. Now that you've have piqued my attention.
Right.
Um, some other ones, and I'm just so this is literally just kind of like word association here. Batman, but it's a prison break movie.
Okay.
So maybe Batman gets locked up in Arkham Asylum. That is a video game, but not a movie. Um, then okay, so we're gonna stick with the superhero world. Suicide Squad, but it's a heist movie.
Mm.
Hmm. Yeah,
Mm.
that's an easy step over, I think.
Mhm.
How about Legally Blonde, but as a noir?
Okay, now you're getting
it's
somewhere.
it's black and white, so she's wearing pink, but you just gonna have to take her word for it. Legally Blonde, but it's like a noir legal drama in the vein of in the vein of like A Time to Kill. How about this? Planet of the Apes, but as a chick flick. Let's get some ladies involved in the ape world. I'm
Yes,
thinking like
yes,
Caesar Wears Prada, or
yes.
Ape
Why does the
Jones
Planet
Diary.
of the Apes always have to be at war?
Yes, yes. Let's get in. We're going shopping, but with apes.
Yeah.
And then I have Ocean's 11, but as a western. I don't know why that one popped in my head. I just love Ocean's 11 and I love westerns, so let's just put them together. Let's
Valid.
just set it in 1886, but it's the same. It's mostly the same idea.
One more we got from Jake on Threads I really like is Scooby-Doo as a series of slasher films. Um,
Mm.
you know, the Scooby-Doo has sometimes dipped into the realm of real ghosts.
Mm.
It's not always just old man Jenkins in a
Mhm.
mask. But I don't know that they've ever dealt into actual murderers. That would be
I don't think they
something
have.
I would love to see that.
They should. I
Um,
Yeah,
agree.
that would be fun.
I'd watch that.
So-
That would
And
be fun.
honestly, put all of those people in there because in some way, shape, or form, they've all been in various horror movies. We absolutely know that Matthew
Right.
Lillard could do it. Freddie Prinze could
Mhm.
do it. Sarah Michelle
Mhm.
Gellar could do it. Linda Cardellini could do it. Like, bring them all back.
Mhm, and you could kill Scrappy-Doo first.
Now, how do you? But the challenge there then is how many of them do you kill off in the first
Well, you
movie,
never kill
and then
it.
who you bring them back?
You don't kill any of the mystery
Well, that's the thing is
Inc.,
who's
I don't
dying?
think. Scrappy.
Who's
Every
dying?
episode,
Just
Scrappy
Scrappy
dies
just
like
he's
Kenny.
resurrected,
Yeah.
and then he dies again.
No, I
Daphne
think
gets
that-
captured every time.
Yeah,
That's
you
what I
could
mean.
have-
She still gets captured.
Yeah, I think the stakes would be higher, but I don't think any of them would die necessarily.
Other
You
people would die.
You would have
They're
other
just-
people have to die.
They're
But
investigating.
Mystery Inc. would have to survive, I think. But thanks for sending us in those ideas. Go follow us on Threads at So Many Sequels Pod.
And send us
Send
more.
us your ideas. Yeah, send us more of your ideas. We would love to hear from you guys on that. All right, let's get our box office recap for the week before we wrap up this episode. How's Beetlejuice in week 2? Beetlejuice squared 2.
Oh yes,
Second weekend.
It's successful in its second weekend, 51.6 million in week 2, which is about 50% of last week's run. So holding on pretty well. Speak No Evil debuts in the number 2 spot with 11.5. Yes, that trailer is almost out. Probably a week or two more of it, I imagine. But I've only seen it the one time still. Speak No Evil, 11.5. Deadpool and Wolverine drops to number 3 with 5.2 million. I'm not looking forward to saying numbers 4 and 5 that much. Number 4 is Am I Racist? This is the Daily Wire's documentary where I don't know. One of those
just good response. I don't know. It's
one of
the
those
right
shitheads
answer.
walks around and asks people leading questions and then selectively edits them. 4.7 million for that, and then Reagan comes in at number 5.
Am I racist? Reagan.
Am I Reagan?
Presented without comment. Am I Reagan? Racist. What?
Anyway,
Reagan
that's
filmed in
your-
Oklahoma. Shout out to the
Was
Oklahoma
it
Film and
partially
Music
filmed in
Office.
Oklahoma?
A good chunk of it was.
Okay, well maybe it's not as cheap looking as it, or not. Maybe it's not as cheap as it is then. But anyway, haven't seen either of those. Can't speak for them. But have seen Deadpool and will see Beetlejuice soon. I just
Yeah.
got to get the time. And I'd watch Speak No Evil. I've heard a lot of good things.
Yeah, I need a break from the trailers for a little bit before I go see that one, I think. But all right, fun times. Go out and see a movie. We've got lots of fun stuff coming up as the year starts to wrap up here in the final quarter. We've got so many sports September, whatever you want to call it, wrapping up here this month, and then we've got so many scares coming up in October. 1999 November.
1999 November.
We still have a little bit to workshop it, but we're doing movies from 1999 in November, and then we'll wrap up in December with So Many Santas. Yay! Very exciting. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
It's the best time of year. Thanks for tuning in for this episode. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're shooting for 316 subscribers there, so help us get there so we can reach for a new goal. If you want to get more involved with the show, you can join our Patreon. So Many Sequels there, and you'll get access to our Discord community where you can chat with us about movies and TV and all things fun. Yeah. Make sure. Okay, yeah. Remember to follow us on social media at So Many Sequels Pod, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, and we will see you all next time.